There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton sheets from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster, wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with sheets that feel breathable to sleep in. You'll experience the purest softness on night one and feel your sheets get even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code CUMULUS. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
Hi, I'm Chick McGee, and we're off the air. Oh, it's the return of Nigel and the Nightcats with the original off-the-air theme. And there's words to this, right? Well, have you heard this one? You've heard this one. Jess is here. Hi, Jess.
Hi.
That's Jason, our producer. Thank you again for downloading Off the Air, podcast number 18, I think, if I've got that in my head. No? 19? Is it 19?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're almost at 20.
Oh,
Are we going to do something big for 20?
We can almost drink. We should do a drunk podcast. We'll do a drunk off the air.
Negative.
Drunk off the air, off our ass. That's what we'll do. Hi, how is everybody? This is going to be a good show today. I understand Jess has some happenings in her life she'd like to share with us.
I don't want to share it. You're the one that wanted to hear it.
What, the ringtone?
I got a ringtone.
All right.
You got a new ringtone on your phone?
Do I need to hear it? Can you call me? It would probably be faster if you would call.
Oh, well,
Are we seriously doing this?
Well, she's very excited about it.
I like this song. I like this. It's a song.
Is it the song I think it is?
I don't think so. What song do you think it is?
Well, that song you...
He's hit so many buttons over here. He can't call you?
I was thinking of that song.
No, it's not that song.
Oh,
here we go. Really?
Yeah.
It's Phil Collins because
of Stephen Lynch?
I love Phil Collins. No. Oh, no. Why would we do? What did Stephen Lynch have to do with Phil Collins?
The Stephen Lynch song. He referenced a Phil Collins song, and it wasn't.
He did.
And it was.
No, actually, I watched the Friends episode when Chandler and Monica get married, and they play "Groovy Kind of Love" on a violin, and it makes me cry every time.
Oh yeah.
And so then it made me look up Phil Collins songs, and that's my ringtone.
It's a groovy kind of love.
That's the story.
I don't do the ringtones. I do the. I don't mean the music for the ringtone. Who wants to hear my ringtone?
Not me.
Okay, here we go.
Is this the one that Jason made for you so it would sound like the office phone?
No.
Oh. Do you remember that?
No, I remember that. I used to have the Tom's an ass bag when Tom would call me.
That's good.
Tom's an ass bag.
Tom's an ass. Okay, here we go. Ringing it. No, that's not it. Oh, here we go. Shush.
Okay.
It takes me. Okay.
Oh, God,
oh no,
that's
not
awful.
it. Yeah, that's not good. This is it.
Yeah, that's
a nice ringtone.
That makes me clench.
Clench what?
His
My
nostrils.
butt. Yeah.
Your nostrils or your butthole? Clench your butthole.
Don't say butthole. Jason, I was just talking about you the other day with our friend, the dentist.
Oh, Mr. Greg?
Mm-hmm. He didn't know that we had a podcast. There's
he
probably
knows.
a reason.
He knows.
I was worried. I was like, oh my God.
No, he knows.
Okay.
He should know.
Okay, good.
I tell him a lot of things. He probably, yeah.
Oh, hey, I got a story about Jason. I think you know this already, but I'd like to share it with you. Maybe I did share it with you, but I think it's podcast worthy.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So a couple weeks ago, Jason goes, "Hey, you should come by and play euchre during Monday Night Football."
You did tell me this story.
I go,
you cried. You cried when you told me this story.
A little bit. I had to punch myself in the shoulder to stop from tearing up big time. But Jason I go, yeah, you guys play euchre? Yeah, you should come out. He go, okay. And he goes, we play six-handed?
If we have six people, yes. And a lot of times we do have 6 men.
Okay, so they have six. And he goes, we only have 5 right now. But and this is like Friday. Mm-hmm. And he goes...
I showed him a text. My buddy Sean sends me a text. Hey, look, I've only got 5.
Right.
Who do we get? Blah blah blah.
So they get me. I'm 6 Monday. He goes, you can be 6 if we can't find the other guy. Right?
Yeah, and we hadn't got confirmation from a Scott.
So Scott hadn't called.
You were on standby.
And
so Monday, I'm excited. I'm going to go play euchre at Jason's house.
No.
So I walk in after the show, the big time show, and I go, hey, tonight's euchre night, right? And he goes, ooh, we found Scott. Nope, you're out. Just like that. And I go, well, first of all, you know me, I'll lash out. First of all, I've never heard a fucking 6-handed euchre in my life.
No, you said, why can't you play 7-handed?
And I go, if you're going to play 6-handed, why not play 7-handed? And then I go, hey, wait a minute. Find another guy. We'll play normal euchre. 2 tables of 4. So I didn't even ask you this past week, and you didn't say anything about it.
I don't have it.
It's like every third week or so.
Yeah, it's once a month. It's once a month.
So here's the big issue here.
So am I in or out? I'm out.
You're out unless Scott is busy.
We never know who's coming in. There's like 8 or 9 guys, and usually about 6 of them.
Why do you even ask me then?
Well, and that's my bigger point, is I'm not going to ask again if this is the way you're going to act.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you start your own euchre party?
Maybe I should. Mm-hmm. And Jason,
who's going to be there, Jess?
Bodart.
Bodart will be there.
You guys will play 2-handed euchre.
That's what we're gonna call it. And
that's called queer euchre, right?
That's big time queer euchre. And Jason, I'll keep you on standby.
Listen, you're kind of on the. See, I got to easy. You're not just some guy who shows up.
What do you mean by that? I am some guy.
But to me, yes, you are. But to them, you're not just some guy.
You're the guy they listen to.
Would you behave and be fun and be just one of the guys? Yes, you would.
Would I behave and have fun? I'm tired of Chick getting in the way of my personal life. That's all I got to say.
Funny.
Okay, I'm pretty fucking tired of it.
I would have been fine with it. But I didn't want. I mean, what? You're the 7th guy sitting off in the corner watching
Maybe
football?
you guys should start out where you just go and watch a game. Like you go up to Jason.
I could get you snacks.
A Purdue football game or whatever Purdue.
Yeah, and you took Kostaki to a Purdue game.
I did.
Never invited me to a Purdue game ever. You know what? This is a Foo Fighters thing, isn't it? It's a Foo Fighters thing all over again.
What's the Foo Fighters
thing?
Like
5 or 6 years ago, you invited me to a Foo Fighters concert.
And you were so excited and you talked about it.
I was so excited.
Day comes.
I didn't want to go.
You didn't want to go. Don't say I can't. You could. You didn't want to.
I didn't want to go.
Like a big dick.
And I told Jason, he goes, oh, that's all right.
And Jason went by himself.
And did you punch yourself in the arm?
No. You know what? I did a good deed to get over myself is what I did. Because a friend in the building had another friend who didn't have a ticket, couldn't really afford a ticket.
And really wanted to go.
I gave the ticket to that. Didn't even know the guy.
That's awesome.
So I'm kind of responsible for that.
He had a great time.
You're not responsible.
I'm terribly responsible for that. I think as I see it,
you did the good deed.
I did. So thank you, Jason.
Hey, Chick, do we have emails?
Yes, Jess, we do. This is from a guy named Philip. Hi, just wanted to say it's 9 a.m., 6-pack deep.
Really?
And it's awesome to have another McGee doing big things out there. Cheers, Philip McGee.
Oh, there's a cartoon on Adult Swim called Assy McGee, and I took a picture.
Assy
McGee, and I took a picture of it. And when Chick calls, that's what comes up is a picture of it on the guide.
Is it back to Assy McGee? Is that what comes up now?
No.
What comes
just
up
the
now?
picture of it. It doesn't say. It says Charles.
Charles. Why do you say it like that?
I don't know.
All right.
Oh God, he's fussy.
I know.
I'm not fussy at all. Well, how would you like it if you got
oh my God, it was 3 weeks ago.
fucked out of a euchre game and you'd really been looking forward to it? Hey, do you know, guys, that the Off the Air podcast is brought to you by GoDaddy.com?
No.
Yes, they are. GoDaddy is the world's largest provider of web hosting with over 55 million domain name registrations and over 10 million customers. Wouldn't you like to be one of those customers?
I am one of those.
I tell you what, you know what? If you want to be one of those customers, call Jason and he'll let you know unless Scott calls to be one of those customers. Is that what
Yeah, that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, how it works is go to chickmcgee.com, click on the GoDaddy banner, and you'll get your new domain name for only $4.95, including a free one-page website, a personalized email account, photo album, and more. So enter promo code McGee at checkout. That's MCGEE at checkout, or go to chickmcgee.com and click on the big, hairy GoDaddy banner. Thank you, GoDaddy.
Do you think we should get do you have like Chick McGee something else you want out there?
Can't think of anything. I was so excited to get Chick McGee instead of Chick McGee 1 like on Twitter.
We could do like Chick McGee.
Charles.
Chick
McGee. Charles.
Chick McGee.
Charles Chick McGee.
Assy McGee. Chick McGee.
Okay,
Chicky Ass McGee.
Jiggy. We're very excited today on the Off the Air podcast. We have actually a longtime friend and a coworker.
Family.
His family.
Yeah, pretty much family. Yeah, he is family. You're our
road family.
Yeah, if I was got pulled over by the cops again, I would call
that
this guy. And he would. I have no doubt he would come running. He was the
only one with a valid driver's license out of all of us.
Oh, that is a long time ago. We'll tell that story in a minute. Ron Sexton joins us on the Off the Air podcast. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Chick, Jess, Jace. Hey, buddy. Hey, great to see you guys.
How long have you been in the building?
1990.
Yeah.
Or 91.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was in college at Butler and was working at WNDE and did nothing in the way of college life. I didn't have a beer until I was like 32.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I was working at WNDE from midnight to 6, would run Larry King Live.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And a funny story, I was working at Butler's radio station at the time, and I don't think you'll care. A guy named Todd Mello was in one of our radio TV classes.
Yeah.
And he worked at WNDE. And he was just telling me how much he liked it, this and that. Well, one day he comes in and he's down. And I was like, what's the matter? He said, I got fired. Oh. You got fired? Yeah. So I'm like, oh, wow, there's got to be an opening.
That's a shame. That's a shame. There must be an opening.
So I know they say never make a phone call, So I immediately make a phone call. And Pam Farron was the program director at the time. And I'm like, oh, this is going nowhere. Well, she didn't want to work midnight to 6 that weekend. So I got hired immediately.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so anyway, long story short, when I was here for about a year or so, one of our engineers is telling a story. Because I said, Todd, why'd you get fired? He goes, oh, man, I dozed off. And the GM came in and fired me. For dozing off? At 3 a.m.? Wow.
Right.
Come to find out, he didn't doze off. He had a sleeping bag with an alarm clock, was not playing legal IDs, commercials, anything.
I totally remember this story because when I was a kid growing up in Central Ohio, there was a disc jockey on WNCI. His name was Dr. Todd. And this guy's name was Todd.
Yes.
And after he fell asleep, we all started calling him Dr. Nod because he fell asleep a lot. And I totally remember that story. Yeah, he was a world-class sleeper as far as getting paid for sleeping.
Yes.
He had it clocked. Yeah.
So he couldn't even set the alarm at 2 till so he could run the legal ID?
No, he would set it right before 6 a.m. so he would be awake before the next guy would come in at 6. But that was, I was working at WXLW, which was a so-called Christian radio station at the time, 9:50 a.m. And but it was as crooked as any operation at the time because they would run Grambling football, and they would get paid to run Grambling football in Indianapolis that had beer commercials and stuff on a Christian radio station, and then it had to air before midnight. So it was my job at 11 to put this thing on fast speed on a reel-to-reel, and so it would sound like the Chipmunks doing play-by-play. It's the most,
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, you might not instantly recognize Ron Sexton's name, but he has worked with us for a very long time, as you can hear, and he also is still on the Bob and Tom Show. He's one of our most popular. I hesitate to say the word character, but I guess that's what it is.
Voice talent?
A voice talent. He's a person to a lot to
Leland Nirengarden.
He's real.
Yeah.
He that's right. Ron does the voices of Floyd the trucker, Christy's neighbor Mike.
God.
Gosh, that's funny.
Oh, thanks.
And of course Donnie Baker is Ron Sexton. So that's who Ron is, and that we're lucky to have him on the podcast. And you also do before we get to Donnie and all the I guess the most popular ones. We always, because when we first started the on the road comedy tour on Bob and Tom Show, Ronnie was there. Of course, Donnie Baker was there almost every show. And but backstage you would do. My favorite voices that you do are friends that you know.
Oh, yeah.
the guys that one guy who was there's no
Carrie?
Carrie.
Yeah, I got a couple buddies that would make it's basically it would make a great sitcom. I don't know if it'll translate on the podcast, but yeah, I got a buddy of mine, Carrie, that if he does have a couple beers, he tends to almost speak through his nose and has a very distinctive laugh.
But you know Carrie, right?
I know Carrie.
Yeah.
And he's got a buddy that's really big, and his nickname is Doughboy. I don't know where that came from, but Carrie and Doughboy will go, and Doughboy can't remember shit, and so he'll be like, "Hey, how many beers we was on? How many beers we drink last time we golfed? Fucking 78 beers. We're drinking about 12 beers. I'll give the kid the 3-wood. How many beers we drink? We got up to the turn. Well, I'm pretty fucking drunk. About 6 beer. Fucking 6 beer. You don't remember shit. We're drinking about 9 beers. I'll get back to the cart." And it's just they're like an old married couple, and they're best friends. And a buddy, and you guys know Joe Emmert, another buddy of mine, told me he ran into Carrie and Doughboy. They both had knee replacements and were still at the titty bar with gauze and everything else propped. So I mean, it's more than a little inside, but yeah, it's funny.
Fuck it. Why the fuck ever?
Motherfucker. He says motherfucker faster than anyone. Motherfucker. Fucking Joe. Motherfucker. Give him fucking Joe $50. Motherfucker comes back and he's like, and he tries to imitate Joe. Motherfucker. Last time I paid you $75, and you still didn't invite me a euchre. So.
Yeah. That's the voice I remember. Oh, hey, you also do Kenny Tarmac. I forgot about that one. Yeah, and Coach.
Ralph Falk.
Ralph,
actually,
the shark. What?
Carrie, the voice of Carrie ties into Donnie.
That's what I thought. That wasn't one
a little
based
bit
off
of the one line. Carrie used to be our pitcher in slow pitch softball, and it didn't matter what the topic was. Carrie tended to brag a little bit. So I probably know more about fucking hitting the right field than fucking anybody know. Fucking Ronnie, I'll fucking tell you.
So now Donnie says.
So I probably know more about anybody hitting the opposite field in the slow pitch game than anybody I know of.
Right. But when you first started doing Donnie was higher.
Donnie was lower.
Oh, it was lower.
It was
okay.
lower. It was kind of like Rick is now.
Oh,
Rick
okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Donnie was, I thought, I just wanted to do a character that the listeners couldn't tell whether it was a character or a real listener.
Right.
So I thought this is going to be maybe 3 phone calls, and I still had major stage fright at this time. But I kind of had an idea in my head, and I got the idea from when Bob and Tom would go to these signings at the mall and watching. I would go to a few of them, but I would always notice the guy that you guys would dread would be the Donnie that would, "I know Chick ain't your real name." And they just weren't content with the autograph and moving on. They had to.
There was something more that they needed.
They wanted something. Yeah.
The way I am with Major League Baseball players, or if I meet, rock stars, and Donnie's the kind that takes it way too far, doesn't have a clue that he's not doing well or isn't well received. So at the time, I thought it would be 1 or 2 phone calls, and they were talking about pickup lines, and so I thought, oh, this is right up Donnie's alley. And I remember I had a couple of them, but I remember being on hold, and I was like, I need one more. And on hold, I wrote, how about a 3-way, me, you, and some of this pork?
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it was, how about a 3-way, me and some of this pork, and just like Rocky it sounded like Rocky when he would get punched.
Oh yeah, right.
And fast forward after the show that day, Tom liked it. It went over well, but Bob was on his honeymoon.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to mention, because you were chicken shit because you wouldn't do it when Bob was here.
Well, Tom said, and I was afraid he jinxed it. He's like, "Hey, nice bit, but I hope Bob likes it when he gets back, so make sure you call in with that again." So I'm like, okay, shit, now it's got to be good. Yeah. And it wasn't. Bob was in. And he was back from his honeymoon, and the call was okay, and I could kind of feel Bob feeling it out. I could kind of feel the room refilling. And finally, Tom saved it. And he said, "Hey, Donnie, tell Bob some of your pickup lines that always work."
There you go.
And it saved it. And from that point, I had the confidence to keep trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's been great. Like Chick had the idea for Mom Phyllis. That was I was like, that is just perfect, that there would be sexual tension in this family between Donnie and his...
Well, you wouldn't call her Mom because you have a mom. You call her Mom Phyllis.
Yeah, exactly. And but there's been and then by traveling, doing shows and going to the truck stops, I was like, who in the hell buys all this wolf art? Well, fuck, Donnie would. Somebody's buying it. It's everywhere.
Yeah. I'll text you a picture of a wolf T-shirt.
I bet people do that all the time.
Yeah,
too. You get texts constantly.
Yeah, I get on the Donnie Twitter page a lot. I'll get a lot of wolf sightings. But I've seen wolf seat covers, keychains, you name it, tattoos. It was funny. You guys know Nick Pryor, the AKA Scotty Winkler.
Sure. He's a member of the Pork Pistols.
Yep, guitar player for the Pork Pistols. We're in a mall in Iowa one day just killing time because the drummer and the bass player are hungover and they don't wake up until 5. So Nick and I are killing time in a mall. And it's a bad mall in Peoria. And it's one of those days where they have kind of like the festival inside the mall. So every antiques and all kinds of stuff. The mall's just cluttered, basically. Not much room to walk. But there was a section where there were these paintings. And Nick and I basically got thrown out of the mall. I took a picture with a cell phone of this wolf and an Indian. And the guy thought I was stealing his idea. It was this god-awful shit painting that nobody would.
No.
Oh, and they called security. And I was like, man, it's just and I don't want to tell him it's a joke. I told him I got somebody interested in buying this. I don't want to hurt his feelings, but I don't want to.
Right.
And security said, you guys need to go. That's original artwork. Once it gets out of here. And I'm like, once it gets out of here, I'll suck a dick if anybody buys the wolf with the Indian.
The wolf.
And that wolf didn't even have the proper dimension foot. That wolf had a pig foot on it, and it did. The foot was just hideous. It was like, you couldn't tell if it was a tail or a foot, but it looked like a pig's foot on a wolf. And so I was like, I'm in the car, I was telling Nick, because I didn't have the balls to say it. I was like, there's no fucking way anybody's going to buy that shit-ass wolf painting.
That's one of my favorite things. It's not, that's a horrible thing to say, but Ron is a very easygoing, make you laugh, make you smile if you're down. But on a few occasions, I've got to witness Ron lose his fucking shit. We got turned around in Michigan.
Or Minnesota?
Detroit.
I think we were in Detroit, and we had an early flight, and we got turned around, and we stopped, and it was always a Middle Eastern gas station.
And I didn't know Detroit had 2 airports. All I wanted to know was...
Yeah.
I didn't know till just now they have 2 airports.
I guess there's one downtown and then DTW, the main one. I've never been to the other one, Metro or whatever it is. So yeah, Jess and I are just wanting to make sure we get home. We just want to get home. So I have directions, but I don't know if I have directions to the right airport. And this is long before I learned the ways of Kenny and the airport codes, but it was 5 or 6 gas stations.
Yeah.
And I'm very impatient. Not that I have road rage. I hate being lost. And more than anything, my biggest I hate backtracking. I hate hate it. Hate backtracking. I don't know why. And one of my first jobs in television was to work with Bob Knight in the Bob Knight Show. And by my nature of being able to imitate, I can throw a fucking fit. And I learned from the best. But... yeah, I remember that morning.
Right.
We would and it was like 5 or 6 gas stations that, it was either a Middle Eastern or I ain't from here, and I always get that guy. Fuck, I just started here. I'm not from here.
What do you want?
Yeah,
man?
what do you want, man? Yeah.
So was that what you knew what you were going to do going to Butler? I mean, telecommunications and things like that.
My high school had a radio station, so I fell in love with radio at an early age. I had 2 older buddies that were on the high school radio station, and it was just the oddest combination. Is like, why would a high school have a radio station? But they were on the air, and I thought it was just the neatest thing that, wow, I can be on the radio, and not every high school has this, and they broadcast the football games and this and that. So in middle school, I was calling. They had it was WRFT 91.5 FM, and they would cover Franklin Central High School sports. And so even in middle school, they would do a middle school report where once a week, a little Cub reporter like the Chick McGee. That's when you do your little Cub broadcaster club.
Oh yeah.
It made me think of that.
Junior Announcers Club, sure.
So once a week, we'd get to call in with the middle school report. And my very first time calling, the guy said, "Okay, we just need to get a level check." Well, I didn't know what the hell a level check was. I hadn't even reached puberty yet. I didn't know he just wanted me to read my script.
Yeah.
And into the phone with my parents watching intently, my proud parents getting up at 6 a.m. I go, oh, because there was an episode of The Little Rascals where like Alfalfa or somebody's trying to tune up for a song. Oh, they're just trying to... Oh, and they had to be dying laughing, but I did the report. The report went fine, but it was just awful. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I misunderstood the entire thing.
What was the first imitation you ever did?
Wow. I remember being 4 or 5 years old, maybe a little older or younger, doing Jimmy Carter for my parents and making them laugh. And I don't know, I would just walk around the house, pull my underwear up, and imitate Jimmy Carter. But I don't think the voice was anywhere close. It couldn't have been.
Looking back, that poor kid, the voice isn't even close.
But I remember my dad always had would always have jokes. He was a car salesman most of his life. He just retired. But I remember going to family functions, and Uncle Jim would always make people laugh. And I think by being around that, I always thought it was kind of cool that, my dad, boy, he's a funny guy.
Right.
And then he would tell me a joke sometimes if I would go into work. Ronnie, tell him the one I told you. And I remember memorizing the lyrics to Devil Went Down to Georgia and couldn't wait to say son of a bitch. And he would laugh at that. And so I don't know. I think early on I was just because he always had a good sense of humor. At family gatherings, I kind of took to that and was always drawn to, I don't know why I had an ability to imitate. I would make fun of my teachers in school. I had a teacher, Mr. Bastinelli, one day that made me get up and imitate. He caught me doing it in the halls and imitate these other teachers that I think now he hated because he was laughing so hard. Until the 8th grade trip when some buddies set me up and said, hey, imitate Bastinelli. And I did. Sam Bastinelli. And all of a sudden on my shoulder, there's Sam, and he was pissed. Yeah.
What did he sound like again?
Sam Bastinelli's. But I don't know if that's even close anymore, but I would imitate our school fundraiser each year was a cheese and sausage sale. And the guy that ran it was the athletic director. His name was Mr. Schumann. And Mr. Bastinelli always wanted me to imitate Mr. Schumann because he would make sure with the cheese and sausage forms that we have to promote cheese and sausage. And the way he said sausage, I just couldn't get enough of it. So I would go around school doing that. And
it's almost like you're Joe Wombat.
Yeah. I'm Joe Wombat. Barometric pressure. Even. Repeating this hour's top story, there's no news at this hour. 36 and sunny. 1070 WIBC.
How many voices do you... I'm sure I left out a bunch.
Endless.
I don't know. I think on Bob and Tom, it's about a dozen for the 10 to 12 regulars. And then there was a period when I was just doing mainly local voices, a lot of... But I find if I'm around somebody for a long time, like I could probably go out and do a best of the Bob and Tom tour. I can do Tim Wilson's first 25 minutes.
Oh, sure.
I got Greg Hahn down a little bit better now.
Yeah. You do a good Henry.
Yeah, Henry's not too tough. I even called into the show one time. Henry was on. I was like, yeah, this is Aunt Henry, Phil. Or it was Aunt Bev or something. Make sure you talk like that. Let's do that.
Henry, are you okay?
Yeah. But, it's funny. When I first started middays in radio, so I worked from overnights at WNDE, then I was middays, and I ran the board for Rush Limbaugh. And I think just because I heard it so much, all of a sudden I could do Rush Limbaugh. Worked for the Pacers radio network and sitting beside Mark and Slick. All of a sudden, in my head, I could do Mark and Slick. And usually it starts out with one word or a phrase, and then it builds. Sometimes the harder I work, the longer it takes. That was the way with Tony Soprano. I went about it the wrong way, and I wanted so badly to do that because I wanted to be Tony. I still do. When I get big, I want to be him. And I don't think I got it down to where I wanted it until the show was long gone.
Right.
When I started it, everything was up here, and all I could say is do it fast. And I think we got like an 8-minute bit one day where 9 times do it fast.
Do it fast.
And it was awful. But gradually, there was a scene, and I forget what episode. Tony's in bed, and he's eating dessert in bed, and he's got this piece of cake, and he's eating off his chest. So he's got the saucer on his chest, and he's just taking his time with his little cheesecake.
Yeah, and he always breathes.
Notice the breathing. Yeah. Jesus Christ, it's hard to breathe and eat cake. But once I got to breathing, it was a lot. Going up was a lot more realistic and helped the impression than starting up and trying to go higher. So Frank Caliendo pulled me in the green room one day, and he said, "Hey man, I'm not trying to upset you, but your Tony sounds a little Asian." And so I was like, oh, fuck, that's a kick to the dick. I mean, he's obviously the master of it. But I was like, I thought I was pretty close, but he was right. And I would listen back, and I was way too high. Yeah. So I focused on the Tony that, listen, let's have a little talk. And I like when Tony would talk to women, especially, listen, you're a beautiful girl. See? But, that sincerity.
You better stop.
But, I just thought it was cool. The breathing, and once I got the low end, it was once you go higher, then wow, that sounds like Tony Soprano.
Right.
When he gets mad. So yeah, it's funny how they come along, but there's not really I couldn't tell you how I go about it. Some guys, and I've talked to Frank about it, and some guys, if if they see an impression done, they can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the case for me with Eddie Murphy. I had a buddy of mine in high school that could imitate his laugh, and I saw he would just basically inhale, and most guys do it exhale when they do that laugh. But by the laugh, I got the rest of Eddie. It wasn't tough. One little piece of the puzzle led to the other.
Right.
But I've seen Mike McRae do Vince Vaughn. I have no idea how he does it. I've seen Frank Caliendo do John Madden. That's the most bizarre voice.
That's like, for me, his Madden is like your Floyd the Trucker, because both of them, I can't believe those voices are coming because they're so different. To me, when I do a voice, it always sounds like me and they're somewhere.
It does.
But you're Floyd the Trucker, and thank you. And Frank's John Madden don't sound. I mean, they sound like John Madden, and it sounds like Floyd the Trucker. It's so different.
Yeah,
Floyd's not a real person.
Exactly. Well, that's my point.
Kind of, because my mother's from Salina, Tennessee, so when we would visit my relatives in Tennessee, I picked up on Floyd early because there were people that just spoke like that, and they would all sit in front of the courthouse and whittle. And I just remembered, I don't know why we were near the courthouse, but I remembered just the conversations and the overalls and the whittling. And one of the first characters I did in the high school station was an old guy named Cordell McGarrett. I went through the phone book in my mom's hometown and came up with the name. And so I would do prank phone calls on our high school station in the afternoon. And the guy that ran the station, it was probably the biggest influence in my broadcast life, a guy named Jim Johnson, who ran the radio station, was a great teacher, and let us do that. I mean, I don't know if it was even legal at the time, but so he would let us, do these bits. But he was a big fan. His passion for radio was very much 700 WLW and Gary Burbank. And so he would give me ideas, and I'm like, that's a great idea. Well, I would grow up and find out 10 years later that, no, that's a Burbank bit, and all we were doing was mocking it.
Right.
Like he loved Earl Pitts, so I started doing a bit on the air called Floyd Buck and sound off about something, and he would help me write. And but yeah, Cordell McGarrett was his voice like this, and it was awful. But people would buy it on the phone. But it was kind of based on some of my relatives from Tennessee, just the way they would talk. And yeah, Floyd, my mom says kindly all the time. It's kindly mist in the rain. And so Floyd, well, it's kindly mist in the rain outside, isn't it? Well, is it raining or fucking not, Floyd? But so I don't know. I was always kind of around that dialect for a while, and as a little kid, just was able to remember it and call back on it.
So would Floyd be your oldest character, you think?
Yeah, definitely. It was. I was doing Floyd on the AM station.
Okay.
As Steve the Trucker, and the only phone call I made to Bob and Tom prior to that was a Jim Rome impression when I mean, Marty Bender, who was our program director at the time, had to beg me. I was scared to death. But I did it, and it went well, and made the album that year.
Yeah, it's a great,
wow.
But, great Jim Rome.
Yeah, and you didn't introduce Floyd until way later.
No, when I started with
early.
Bob and Tom,
really?
all I had was Floyd because I'd met with Tom, and then the guy X103, Scott Jameson, I think, had told Tom, Ron has a trucker character that writes poems, and so Tom said, "Wow, okay, well, let's give it a try." And he did say, we were at lunch one day, and Tom, I just love the name he came up with because I wanted to call it Doyle because I thought it was just funny that the name Doyle in Floyd's voice would be, "This is Noel," and he's like, "Nobody will understand that." So he fought, and I was like, "Oh, I just think it'd be funny," because in the movie Sling Blade, Doyle Hargrave, I just think Doyle Hargraves is just a great name. I was like, "Can we go with Doyle?" And Tom didn't like it, so we're getting ready to leave, and he's like, "Oh, do this Floyd Tucker, the world's famous trucker." Fuck, that works.
Yeah.
I mean, it was perfect. And so I started calling in as Floyd. All I had when I started was Floyd, and I think Dr. Phil. But Tom didn't want me doing Dr. Phil because he said nobody knows who he is. And I was like, bullshit, my wife watches it every day, and I have to hear about it. I guarantee you guys know who it is.
Yeah, because you had a morning show that was like 6 to 9, and then that 9 o'clock hour after it was over, I remember you'd come down with Dean, and you'd do some Floyd calls a couple times a week, kind of slowly getting him in. Is that right?
Yeah, it was Fox Sports Radio, and you're right. We were always the odd times. We were supposed to be the wake-up show for the East Coast. We were basically the overnight show, no matter how many times they would do. You guys know you're our first program of the day. And then Tony Bruno would go on and blast us, or, "Oh, good that that crap's over in the overnights. Good morning, East Coasters." Tony Bruno. So anyway, after that show, gradually started getting more confidence and wanting to try more and more things. But I never wanted to. I don't know how Dean does it because I would never like to call in seeing you guys.
Watching, yeah.
Because when I was a kid, one of my favorite things was, going through the Little League phone book and pranking people.
Oh, okay.
And,
but Dean looks down. He never looks up when he calls in.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
I always assumed he did.
No, he
that's true.
generally he's looking down.
Unless you turn around and look at him.
I'll tune around. I've turned around and looked at him.
Yeah, he
before.
generally is not looking at him.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I remember when I first started doing it, Mark Patrick, who made so many calls for years, was like, well, you got to go in there. And I was like, I don't want to go in there. So I would kind of like go to a room and poo, kind of like, I just want to find my own hiding place. Like when you find your hiding place and hide and seek, and as soon as you squat down, you have to poo. That's how I felt. I felt like I'm going to call, but I really need to go to the bathroom more than I need to make this phone call.
And antiques.
Oh, antiques.
old hotels.
Yeah.
Did we tell that story on the air one time? We had a friend who we were on the Bob and Tom tour.
Probably.
And he, when he would go into an older hotel, he would immediately have to go to the bathroom.
And I would book hotels, and I would be like, okay, it says bed and breakfast. Yeah, hi, do you guys have antiques in the lobby? And how far away is your bathroom?
And he would walk in and go, oh,
That's
chick,
funny.
I'm carrying low. I got to go.
That was the other great line from Sling Blade is Doyle Hargraves did say, I can't be around midgets and antique furniture, Linda. Can't eat around it. And
That's right, he does.
Dwight Yoakam.
Oh my
somebody.
gosh.
Doesn't he want to just have the band over one night?
Yeah.
It ain't nothing.
Just put some chips in the bowl, fetch us ice once in a while. Shit, Linda. Yeah. And then later he's beating the shit out of everybody in the room.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hurting, Linda. I'm hurting. And she doesn't take the bait. Fuck you. Right back to angry again. That's one voice I wish I could do. That was a great character.
That was. He did a great job.
What is the newest voice you think you? Is it Kenny or Christy's neighbor Mike?
Yeah, I've done Clint. When I did just stand up as Ron, Clint Eastwood was one of the main voices I did. I used to
It's
do
a great Clint Eastwood.
Oh, thanks. It still needs. Obviously, he's getting older, and I saw the movie, the baseball movie, where he's the scout. There's a lot more gravel in his voice now than there used to be.
Something
but,
catch.
Yes,
perfect. No.
But the one thing I could always do, the way he would say "that's right" or "that's fine," the way, "Oh, that's right," that he would. I could always get that, but then if I extend it, that's why the neighbor Mike calls are so infrequent. I'm not quite confident on carrying on a conversation. Tom will so are you busy today, neighbor Mike? Oh, that's right. Mike, what are you doing in the yard? That's fine. It doesn't matter. I kind of go back to what works. Right. It's like with Charles Barkley. When I first had Charles Barkley, all I could say, and I heard him say it on there was racist. That's all. It's going to be weird to work this in. But from racist, I went to a few other phrases. Terrible. Yeah, Frank nailed that. That was Frank's one. Yeah, that was perfect. I mean, that's perfect for that because I could never make Charles funny, and it was a long road trip with Jason Hofsetz one day, and I think it was coming back from the Field of Dreams.
Yeah, we went to Iowa. Mm-hmm.
I had my heart on for the Tony Soprano voice, and I was just confident enough to bring it to the air, and thought, man, Charles is sucking though, because I was trying to do. Basically Larry King bits with Charles Barkley, but it's just so long. The setup, Dateline, New Jersey, old lady, come on.
Forever,
But I could make Charles the straight guy with Tony.
Yeah.
And I think Jason came up with, I said, what do they have in common? And I don't know if you came up with Belly Up or I did, but basically it was, they're both kind of chubby and they both like to eat. And I think Jason said, Belly Up, perfect. And man, that's probably been the most fun I've had because it's a bit that I never really know where it's going. I just kind of know what it's going to be about, but I kind of discover it on the run.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've told Jess this before. That was one of my most wonderful memories from the road is you and Greg Hans sitting backstage. Oh,
yeah, doing...
and Rick was being born.
Yeah.
And Han was going, no. Or maybe Dusty came up with a little bit.
Han gave me fair enough.
Han gave me fair enough.
Get this, I'm at the rental car place. I'm trying to rent a car, right? So I'm at the rental car place. They tell me it's going to be $50. And then I get there and the final bill's $90. Fair enough. That's what the guy says. Fair enough. I'm like, no, that's not fair enough. I got a bill here that says $50. Yeah, but he's like, Rick would say that. Rick would say fair enough.
Rick would say fair enough. Yeah. And by gosh, he would.
Yeah. Yeah. But Rick is, it's funny to me because Rick is, a creeper, and I try to call in. Like today, there was a story about somebody having sex with a skeleton.
Yeah.
That would have been a good Rick. You guys talking about a fucking skeleton there a little bit there?
A little bit.
And then he's always trying to, everybody probably done that a little bit there a few times. And I love him, but he goes, no, we haven't, Rick.
No. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. Rick's almost too close to Donnie. I don't think Rick will ever have long-term legs, but it may be too close to Donnie. But it's one of the... for here behind the scenes, it seems like, more people kind of laugh or request that that are well tuned in with the show than maybe any other.
It's usually a good exclamation point to a ridiculous topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like.
And that real awkward, I get a kick out of you guys laughing, that real awkward where you can tell either his name is not Rick, which I think if the guy really existed, he's, it's Rick. Okay, he's really going to fool you. Or I'm not sure why he would hesitate, but it's just funny to me, that awkward pause where you guys know even before I say it who's calling in. So.
Yeah. And what about Kenny Tarmac? Is when I hear you talking that way in the hallway.
Yeah, Kenny.
Let's get off the road.
Kenny came from traveling doing Donnie. So I was starting to do comedy. I went from a bad middle act comedian as myself, and it was Greg Hahn that actually pulled me aside. I opened a show for him in Greenwood one night, and in between bringing Greg up and the other comedian up, I slipped in a Floyd voice, and I was just saying, there was an old guy in the back that didn't get that last joke. I believe he was having a seizure or something. And the crowd laughed, and they were familiar with it from Bob and Tom.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And Greg pulled me aside before he went up, and he's like, "You're an idiot." What do you mean? He's like, "You got all these great voices singing. You don't do any of it. You're an idiot. You'd rather swim in a pool with 10,000 people rather than being in a hot tub with 2 naked chicks. You're a moron." And I was like, wow. And he wasn't being mean.
Right.
He was like, "Do more of that."
Yeah.
And it was the light bulb I needed at the time. It was a kick in the ass that I needed. And so I was doing Donnie on the air, and I thought, boy, I can. And plus, I had kids. I couldn't do like a regular comedian. I had a job now. I couldn't be gone Wednesday through Saturday. But with Donnie, I am automatically elevated to a level where you can just do a Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
So
I can't imagine you as a straight comedian.
Yeah, I was on Bob and Tom. It wasn't too bad. I think there was a point in Chick when they were having local people in the local segment.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, that's how Jeff Bodart quit his job to do that.
Yeah.
And I came on during the local segment, and then I was on the network at one point just as Ron.
What Jess said, if I got to hear that fucking story again.
Sorry.
Talking to you, Bodart.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Let's get back to that story that we mentioned earlier, that we were all on the road driving north in Indiana.
Uh-huh. And you and I were in our car.
You and I were in our car, and Ron and the Pork Pistols were behind us.
No, they were in front of us, I thought. They had to turn around and come back. Is that true?
Probably.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah.
So we get pulled over.
Policeman pulls us over. I roll down the window, and he goes...
he recognizes you immediately.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay, I knew he recognized me eventually, but I didn't...
No, he recognized me first. Yes, he recognized you.
I didn't know if it was me immediately. So anyway, he goes, license and registration, so he yada yada, so I give him the stuff, and he goes back to the police car, and he comes back, and he goes...
We had been in a little minor car accident a month or two before.
4 or 5 years ago, Halloween, there was like a Schwarzenegger movie. We're stopped on a major... and everybody slams on their brakes, and then all of a sudden you hear this...
you hear it before
boom,
it hits
boom, boom. And I look in the rearview mirror, and I go, "Babe, hold on." And we both squinted our eyes, and just wham! And this car went up into the air. I'm looking in my rearview mirror. It slams down on the pavement. And the car right behind me.
It slammed in on the car in front of it.
Yeah, and then that car slid into us and just banged us up.
Barely.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, it's...
You have to file it with your insurance agency, and if you don't, they suspend your license.
Oh.
That's what happened. Chick's license is suspended.
They told us that at the site of the crash. I forgot. So we're there. Fast forward, your license is suspended. I go, "Oh, well, Jess..."
And I said,
he goes, "Can she drive?" And she hands me her license and goes,
"This probably isn't going to go through."
This probably isn't going to go through.
Like a debit card.
That's right.
I just switched driver's license. Is what happened.
Sure enough, her license is suspended too.
I remember this. Yes.
So he goes, but as my life happens, he goes, "Chick, I'm going to give you a break.
Drive up to the next
exit and pull into the gas station.
Do you have somebody you can call?
Can you have somebody come pick you up? I just don't want to see what happens next." So I pulled in the gas station. We sat there. We called you guys. And you're going, none of the Pork Pistols had a valid license, but you, I don't think.
I know my drummer didn't for a long time.
I know he didn't. Yeah. I don't know if he does now.
I think he does now.
Okay.
Yeah, he got on the tour 5 or 6 speeding tickets, and then paid one trooper in cash and tried. And I said, I think he got robbed. And he said, no, Ronnie, that's how they do it here. But yeah, it was bad. Yeah, there was a while there where the driver's license was the most important part of the trip.
It was.
Who's valid?
Yeah, I know it.
Who can drive?
Yep. That's funny. Yeah, it's.
And then we went through that streak of place where we go get Boston baked beans.
Oh, that's the best.
At the gas
always
stations
gets them,
and sunflower seeds. And the trip would start
Road
with me
food.
going, we'd start driving down the highway, and I'd go, nothing can go wrong
Yeah,
now.
that chick, every time we would leave, I always thought that was, and I still do it now with road trips with my kids. They get a kick out of it. Nothing can go wrong now. It's so funny. Yeah, I still am giddy over truck stop. I love going into convenience stores and truck stop. The people, how can you just get gas and leave? Mm-hmm. And I was
just at that I-80 one, the world's largest truck stop.
Yeah.
Oh, like last Saturday, they have a display of an old Jeep up on rocks inside.
Just all the crap, though.
Yeah.
I would probably puke if I realized how much money I've spent over the years at those things, but it does help your sanity on the road. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite part of the road trip, that and Applebee's with French onion soup and a half rack of ribs and sweet and spicy sauce by myself. But one of my favorites, so I would get a lot of crap, but it was mostly, Boston baked beans or sunflower seeds. And I'll never forget traveling with Tim Wilson. I'd met my match because he would grab double or triple. Mm-hmm. And we probably had a worse diet than Wilson Phillips in their prime. I mean, it was, but I'll never forget going into a convenience store, and there was a big display, and I hear Tim go, jalapeno Cheetos. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, like that's going to sell. And then, blam, he grabs like 4 bags of them. I'm getting ready to make fun of him. Well, hell, these ain't bad. Hunker down, hit the road. Jalapeno Cheetos. Fuck a damn bag of jalapeno Cheetos.
Remember that time? Where were we? And he had to go to the bathroom. Tim Wilson had to go to the bathroom.
Right by and I had to backtrack.
Yeah. And we're like 20 feet from an exit. No, we need to get off now so I can take a piss.
Yeah,
and
I know. So when Jess said he has a prostate the size of a pumpkin because we were our average uninterrupted tour. I think we were getting about 20 miles in between stops.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that we stopped a lot with him that time. But we were in a huge Econoline van, so each one of us had like a row.
Yeah, we all had rows. We all had our own row. Yeah,
it was.
Ron, when you and I went to Iowa, the few things I remember was the belly up. I remember listening to a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
I think their Stadium Arcadium album came out then. But that was the thing. I'm kind of, I'm very, if you can imagine this, I'm very structured, and I have a breakfast.
No,
I have a lunch.
No,
and a dinner, and
a granola bar in there somewhere.
And Ron on the road. I mean, eventually I had to just say, Ronnie, can we stop and get a sandwich or something? I mean,
just snack.
Yeah,
he just
completely snacks. But the best part of that trip was because I had kind of eyed. I was like, where? Because usually at that time I would kind of hop on with some of these guys, and I saw, Ron's going to Iowa. And no one else is going with him. So I kind of invited myself, but I kind of sold it. Hey, we could swing by Dyersville.
That was great.
Iowa, and see the Field of Dreams.
Yep, I've done it. Yep, it's cool.
And God, that was so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's cliche. It's out of a movie. It is out of a movie. But when you step in there,
right,
it's like something. And Ron's such a big baseball fan anyway. It was fun to be there with him.
It really wasn't safe because it was at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And it's open to the public, but Jason and I are playing catch, and then you may have 4 other people kind of throwing a cross, and then somebody hitting fungos.
Yeah.
And as the crowd grows, I mean, I couldn't believe that they didn't issue helmets just for or make you sign a waiver.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, and that's pretty. I wasn't even a huge fan of that movie. The setting, I think I was a bigger fan of the setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's pretty cool that's held up that long. It was 1989, I think, or 90 when that movie was.
Is this heaven?
Yeah.
No, it's Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah, it was a fun trip. But road trip, I still, it's, I don't know how you guys are, but there are, Sunday you just can't wait to get home. And so for me, sometimes even on Saturday, I'm a little homesick. But there are some weeks where Thursday, I'm like, God, get me on put the chili peppers in the car, get me on the road. Or, thanks to Bob Zaney with Delta, occasionally getting the upgrade.
Yeah.
There's sometimes just traveling is good for the soul. It's good to get away.
I don't know why, but one of my fondest memories is whenever any of us would score a bag of Chili's chips and salsa for the plane, and it was on. It was on. Yeah, I do. I miss being on the road.
It's funny what you crave. brave. We were in Dallas, and Chick, do you remember Jess just having the shakes over the Oscar Mayer hot dog stand that wasn't open yet? And then hot dogs, and it was like...
I just walked by there.
Yeah, I think you were the only one to buy a hot dog from that stand that day, but she was craving the hot dogs.
Yeah, she likes the King David hot dogs. And
I like a hot dog.
She likes a hot dog, period. Yeah. Almost the raunchier, the better.
Yeah. I know. I was always glad because most of the time it was just you and I almost on every... I mean, it was, and then it would be Chick and Christy rotating, and then whatever the comedians were, so... Ron and I spent a lot of time together, and it was like I never had to be that girl. Oh, I'll have a salad. And it's like, no, Ronnie's like, we're gonna fucking eat. And we did, and I gained 35 pounds. But it was fun.
That's what I'm on Sensa now. I can't lose any weight, and I'm trying this Sensa.
Oh, the sprinkle?
Yeah.
How's it going?
I haven't lost anything.
You haven't gained anything?
No, I haven't gained anything.
That's good.
But I don't know. I think my body's at that point where it's just going to be what it's going to be.
Right, right.
But in Donnie, it looks like, I mean, it's funny. I've probably gained 20 pounds since I started doing Donnie. My Dusty's probably gained 30 pounds.
Oh, God.
Bass player's still skinny, but he's got a pot belly. Scotty Winkler stopped smoking, so now he's put on weight. And he said, Ronnie, we've gained enough weight to add another member.
Oh, that was one of my favorite moments on the road with the comedy tour. You guys were doing a set, and I don't know who came up with it, but it was one of those. I love this aspect of it. Somebody came up with it backstage, and I can't remember who. But you had a friend at the concert.
We were in Denver.
Yeah.
Was it Denver?
We were in Denver, and it was...
Dusty's friend, Lonnie.
Lonnie.
And or maybe his stage name was Lonnie. But Tim Bedore actually helped kind of script this out. There was another comedian that...
It was totally, though, on the spot, and we didn't know we were going to do it before we got to the venue, and it just happened. It was beautiful.
And so we have this guy sit on a bench, and during most of the shows...
A piano bench.
I'll cuss out the drummer, blame him for everything, and we milked it just to the right point where people had to be wondering, what's that douche doing on the piano bench?
Just sitting there with the piano bench.
And he looked so pitiful and lost. And I was like, Dusty, you forgot the fucking fog machine, and you forgot Lonnie's organ? And it really erupted.
So they just had Lonnie on stage.
And this guy had long blonde hair and glasses.
Yeah,
he was just kind of like
he looked
in a flannel shirt, just sat there.
But it said everything. We paid him to play. So by God, he's going to be on stage. And it was just, organ or not, he's going to be, He
looked just like Beavis and Butthead's teacher that sang Lesbian Seagull.
That's exactly what it was. Yes.
Did you ever incorporate Greg Warren and his flute ever?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he would come out and always do a cameo where we would start to play Barracuda, and then he would run out and play Barracuda.
And Greg Hans played drums with you guys.
Yeah, Greg Hans played drums.
Yeah.
One of the best on the fly things I ever saw on the tour, Bob Zaney had a moment of genius. We were somewhere, and Nick Griffin goes out, and Nick's a great comedian, but his set isn't very rambunctious like a Greg Hans would be.
Oh, sure,
and there is a fire alarm going off in the back of the theater.
I remember that.
And it was just I felt so badly for Nick because Nick's got smart jokes and they have, long setups and it's smart comedy. But this damn fire alarm's going off and it's just this whoop, whoop, over and over. And so he tries to let it wait. And the staff's trying to kill it and okay, we're fine now. Then lo and behold, Tommy Johnigan goes out. The same damn thing. Whoop, whoop. Well, I'm sitting there. It's like, God, I hope it didn't happen when I'm going out. And it didn't. And I go out. Nothing happened. Yeah, they had figured it out. Bob Zaney, right before he goes on stage, says, I want you 2 minutes into my set to go to this side mic and imitate. Because I was imitating in the green room. Killing it. It's like, whoop, whoop. And he's like, do that. So I start doing it. The crowd bought it and said, he goes, wait a minute. And he pulls me by the shirt, and I'm doing that dumb shit thing where I don't realize I'm being scooted on stage. I'm all hunched over, my eyes are closed, I'm going, whoop, whoop, and it just killed. Just because people thought Donnie was fucking up the first half of the comedy show. But I thought, damn, that was really smart on his part to put all that together in about 20 seconds.
Oh, my gosh. Any new voices you're working on?
William Devane.
That's right. And the gold.
I buy gold.
That's right.
I love the way it feels. I see those commercials pop up all the time, and it's so obscure. He's flying a plane, now he's fly fishing, but then everyone ends with me on a hammock going, what's in your safe? And he's so relaxed and just, I don't know. I always kind of thought he looked like our old general manager. A little bit. So
yeah.
just a little bit. But yeah, William Devane. So that's kind of the new one that, and I wear him out. Like at home, my family has to put up with it. I was doing Kenny Tarmac for my kids long before it was Kenny. I just called him Airport Guy.
Yeah.
And I would go to the mall and embarrass my kids.
And when they finish your no, it was Dr. Phil that they would finish your punchlines or something, wasn't they?
I did Dr. Phil and have you read my books?
Yeah, we saw. Yeah.
Same way we're on vacation and I'm watching. I forget A&E or whatever, and Steven Seagal comes on, and I made my living in the movies, and it was just
for
a
the last
scene.
30 years.
It was a scene. It was. I don't even think it was an episode. It was like the intro to the episode where he goes, "You get out the car, you get on the ground," and I kept doing that the whole vacation, and probably ruined it for my family. But it was so funny to me. It was so funny to me.
Well, if you hear voices on the Bob and Tom Show, now you know who it is. It's Ron Sexton.
I certainly now. I've been here about 8 years, 7-8 years with the show, so now it's a lot easier to try new stuff. I had one that early on when I was just starting to kind of get my bearings. Steve Salgi had called in, and just on a whim, like a one-hitter, called in as God, and I forget what it was. Bob and Tom, this is God, and it was funny, and so I thought, all right, I'm going to call in as the devil. This will be, and Bob and Tom, it's the devil. And it laid there. I think Bob said, okay, go to hell. And he hung up, go back to hell. And I was like, oh, I can't do anything with Donnie. I'll never do that again. So that took me about a week to recover from that. But but it's been fun. I tire on stuff quickly. Like it's
maybe faster than everybody else does. Maybe do you think?
Sometimes. Yeah, because I've written so many Donnie bit. Like the last thing I want to do is Donnie and a titty bar joke. Mm-hmm. I've written every titty, and have rehashed them. But I understand that it may not be old to the listeners, and so I still try to come up with something fresh and different. But it's hard. I mean, it's hard because I think I've overexposed it at times on the air and maybe even on stage. But the fun part is I'm imitating somebody that doesn't exist.
Right.
Most of what I did were people that, are celebrities impressions, but it's kind of fun, developing a character and having it evolve to where he likes Woofs or Bigfoot or Puddin' Pop. I like them Puddin' Pops. Do you
want to hear an early bit from Donnie?
Oh, it'll make me cringe, but yeah.
When he's a little
is it the palm reader or the fortune teller? Is that it?
This one's called Beat the Heat Tips. And this is literally one of his probably first 5 bits. Okay. So it's still that boy. And then there could be an intro here. We'll see how Tom is about intros.
All right, if you would just have a seat, please.
Here we go.
Oh, no, you again? Donald Baker.
I hate these chairs.
Why are you here? I just saw you earlier this month for your probation meeting, and you performed your community service, I see.
No, I got 2 more hours left, man. I'm sick and tired of doing this, too, man. Can I just do something to get this done with?
All right, 2 hours. I know what we can put you on. We've got very, very hot weather in the region. Let's go ahead and assign you to the Heat Stroke is No Joke Summer Nursing Home Fan Project.
I hate nursing homes. I can beat the heat, but I can't beat the smell, man. I swear to God, I can't.
Donald, this is our last resort. It's only 2 more hours, so let's just get this out of the way. You'll be delivering fans to nursing home residents who don't have air conditioning.
Man, what if I just tell them the ways to beat the heat, man? First of all, you need to find someone in your family who's had a vasectomy. Just tell them this, man. They know how to keep cool. My mom's last boyfriend is where I learned, man. He stopped shooting live rounds last summer and stuff. 2 bags of frozen peas and duct tape will do the trick. Swear to God it will. It'll keep your body cool from the core and make your bulge look bigger.
It wasn't that bad.
A little deeper. Just a tick deeper.
Well, Jason, there was one point where Jason, early on into Donnie, is like, man, your Donnie sounds a lot like Peter Gammon some days. And I started just doing Peter Gammon, so I think gradually I went higher to get back away from Peter fucking Gammon. So I think it was just one of those things that morphed into something. I don't know. And it's certainly easier to talk in a higher pitch that I couldn't imagine doing 45 minutes of this. Hey, where you work, man? What's your story? It's a lot easier to be more conversational than...
Yeah, I think my favorite thing is when Donnie gets pissed now. That's what I look forward to.
Oh, gosh, when you and Tom, your voice Donnie's voice gets high.
I swear to God, you pushed me, Tom.
Just all quivery.
It's going to be 3 punches, and first 2 you ain't going to remember. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of people come up to you saying you ought to say, you're self-defecating, those things that you screw up?
Sometimes, yeah.
Malaprops, I think that's what.
Is that what's called? Yeah.
Yeah, that's my in the people, like, there's some stuff that works really well on the Bob and Tom show, but not so much in the audience. And people forget that Bob, Tom, Christy, and Chick have heard the best of the best over and over and over. So sometimes you guys will bite on the little subtleties that'll go right over a live audience's head. Either A, because
that's what we look for.
They're worried about their drink, or they're just that guy that does the same thing. So in a live crowd, when I go, me and Scotty, we was in JV back in Circus 1997, I'll hear 19 people laughing really hard. But if I go, shut up, Randy, they'll all laugh. But it's the little nuggets like that make me happy for Donnie. The little putting an S on everything. That's what Tim Wilson goes, wouldn't Donnie call it Subwayses? Call it Subwayses. Yeah, okay.
That's really how that started?
Yeah, well, I mean, not to put, I had been doing the plural thing.
Oh, right.
But he said, I think even Donnie would call Subwayses.
I think the first time you called him Derek Jeters.
Yeah, that's exactly where it came from. Hell, I'm better than Jeters. Jeters and that other Puerto Rican from Mexico. What Jeters? How much Jeters make? Jeters probably makes, what, $8,000 a game? Fuck Jeters.
But and then when you go to shows, you always see the real. I mean, not always, but sometimes you see. I know that, like, the real Donnie Baker. I know we've been on the road, and you're like, oh my God, that's Mom Phyllis.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and we always took a picture.
I love spotting Mom Phyllis. I love it. Yeah,
that's true.
But if you go to shutuprandy.com in photos or something, there's what I had in my mind, what I envisioned of Mom Phyllis. There's a picture of her in there, and it was some lady that was an escort, and I forget where I Googled, I think, strippers or something, and this picture popped up. But God, it's Mom Phyllis if I've ever seen one. Yeah.
I'll have to look at that.
So now, Floyd, if I'm asking the question, I kind of know the answer, but Floyd's kind of your favorite, but sort of because he can get away with the dirtier stuff.
Yes.
In a way, right?
Yeah, and I think Floyd doesn't give a damn. I think if Floyd were real, I would think he wouldn't, A, necessarily know that he was on the air.
Right.
And B, I don't know that he would care if he were funny or not. It's like my favorite thing, and it doesn't always work, but Tom takes it seriously, and I just want it to kind of lay there. But boy, we need this rain, don't we? I love little shit like that, because that's what my mom and dad both, my mom in particular, fascinated with the weather, and we need this rain. And I hate rain. Rain ruins a day. I don't care if the grass is yellow; it's either going to be green or yellow. May as well be yellow. We need this rain. You can't control the weather. You have but Floyd would be fascinated by that.
And you're an only child, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so have your parents, you keep referring to your mom, has your dad influenced any of your characters?
Not really.
No?
I mean, not really. No.
Do your parents?
His joke telling early on.
Yeah.
Yeah. People can't tell the difference between my voice that I'm speaking in right now and my dad's.
Oh,
so
really?
if you were to call my folks' house right now, they would always get us mixed up. But my dad doesn't really do any. He never did any impressions that I can recall.
He's straight jokes. Yeah. Yeah.
And car lot jokes.
Right.
A lot of car lot jokes, which has helped. And those are great for Floyd, because when he would send me, hey, I heard a good one,
Yeah.
And so I would be able to use a lot of those as Floyd just telling a joke that he heard at the way station. But
and your mom?
My mom is probably, she would blush at, the cleanest joke I have.
Right. I think I was at a show in Greenwood when your parents came.
Yeah, and
it may have been the first show. I was
never more nervous, and it's the only one I think my dad came to another show with a friend, and then my folks came to see the Pork Pistols.
Right.
And,
right.
Yeah, I've never been more nervous.
I think did Dusty reference that your mom was in the crowd?
He may have.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to remember that.
Yeah. And it was hard. I prefer going to audiences. I like playing road games, not just the hassle of so-and-so going to want tickets or this or that, because I want people to enjoy the show, but you tend to just by nature try to cater the show too much to somebody. So
it was one of the you did multiple shows that weekend, but one of them was it was a South Side indie show.
Yeah.
Everybody knew everybody that was there, and it was fun. Those are fun, I'm sure, hometown shows. But in all of these people that I've heard you do impressions of are live there.
Right. Carrie and Doughboy were there.
Carrie comes up and hits on me at the merch state, and I was like, oh my God, that's that guy. That's the motherfucker guy.
I'm trying to fucking buy a beer and shit, fucking drink beer and fucking sauce you want to fucking something else. Motherfucker. Can't get her fucking beer.
Exactly.
Oh, so what do you do when you relax? Like, you're a big Reds fan?
I like baseball. Yeah. Live in Florida now, so I go. I love, I think I'm getting old and sappy, but I love like riding my bike, watching a sunset. Did kayaking for the first time, but big baseball love. And it's not that I'm a diehard Reds fan. Actually, my favorite part of the season is spring training. Just because you don't feel like, well, we got to stay for the whole game, and the starters are only in for the first 3 innings. But it used to be, before I lived there, such a treat to just, wow, this happens? 80 degrees and baseball, and back home it's shit water and 40.
Right. And Ronnie would come to a show after he'd been down in Florida for the week of spring training. He'd be like, I saw, and he'd tell me all these stories. I didn't know who the fuck he was talking about. And I was like, yay, Ron!
That's incredible.
I'm really excited about it.
Who's that?
But it's... I'm kind of an old fogey now. I mean, I don't follow baseball religiously. I don't. I used to be a Cowboys fan. I would probably barely qualify to be an NFL fan, let alone a Cowboys fan. I used to know the starters. I know that there's Romo, and barely know the head coach. Jason Garrett. Outside of that, I just don't. I don't know. Having worked in pro sports, worked for the Colts for 5 years, for the Pacers for 3 or 4. I kind of saw that it's just a business. It's not the It's not the fantasy world I thought it was.
Right.
So that soured me a little on the whole thing. But my passion was really coaching my kids, going to their games, watching them play, and my daughter. Now I get to help coach the girls' softball team, which coaching girls is a completely different experience, but a lot of fun.
I would assume so, yeah.
And breaking a nail is a big deal. Hair's got to be perfect. So the coach had to figure out, the head coach is a great guy. His name is Roy Silver. And if you Google Josh Hamilton, Roy Silver is most instrumental and best known for getting Josh Hamilton off the junk and back into baseball.
Oh, really?
Yes. Huh. And he happens to be our high school softball coach at Dunedin High School.
I have no idea who Josh Hamilton is.
Great human. Josh Hamilton
Texas Ranger.
Probably,
hopefully be a Texas Ranger. I guess he's in the got a new contract
so this
coming
is
up.
current? I mean,
he's still in,
He was a number 1 draft pick that threw his life away to drugs and was shooting up. He went from cocaine to crack to being strung out, losing I don't know how much weight.
I know this story, yes. Was this
the
a 30 on 30?
Stuff. Yeah, I think it might have been a 30 on 30.
I don't know. All the good ones.
I might have made you
all the
watch
good
that.
stories are 30 on 30.
And then came back to put on the best display in home run derby history.
Really?
Right.
That's where it is. It's the home run derby. That's why all this sounds familiar. Yeah.
Right.
Have you done the Tom Hanks impression in A League of Their Own for the girls yet?
No, I mentioned that in a post-game.
And those girls are like, we weren't even born when that movie came out.
I don't really do a Hanks impression, but I do love that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great. It's even though it's women's
Marla
baseball.
Hooch.
Yeah.
Back up farther. Farther.
What a hitter! Remember?
That's right. Everybody. Oh wow!
Yeah.
All the way, May.
Yeah.
And, here's Marla Hooch.
I got to actually do John Lovitz from that movie because he was the scout.
Right.
Okay, cowgirls, it's grass. Don't eat it. Where are you going? I'm going home to give the wife a pickle tickle. My job is done here. Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah. But and it's not a good John Lovitz, but I thought, God, it was like I couldn't believe because it was a pretty serious movie, and they had a bad, shitty SNL sketch artist come out to play that role. It was pretty. I don't think he's a great actor, really,
but I do love him.
Yeah.
I just love that guy.
Yeah,
that liar.
The cartoon.
Remember how
The Liar was brilliant.
The Liar was where was I was at the movies. Yeah, that's where I was. Yeah. Oh, no, you don't remember that one? No. Okay.
I watched his cartoon.
John Lovitz cartoon.
Do you remember that? Yeah. He went. He was a shrinker. He went to visit a shrink all the time. Looked just
Jonathan
like
Katz.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, never mind. We've always talked about the Chick McGee, Bob Zaney, Donnie Baker shows.
Yes.
I think we did. Did we do one? I think
you guys did one in Maryland, didn't you?
That's right, Dover, Delaware. That's right.
Or Delaware,
Yeah.
whatever.
That's
East
right. No,
Coast.
but we were the affiliates in Maryland, but we were actually in Delaware.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
that's how that happened.
Yeah, that's the best show is always at the merch table at those shows after the show.
It's true.
Between Donnie being a dick and Bob trying to sell everything, and then just people, it's amazing. It's funny how I've written more jokes at the merch table, just kind of people watching than I think anywhere else. But it's funny. It's going back to how I kind of came up. People kind of forget their
there was
their,
it was
their
that we were at a Bob Evans somewhere, I don't remember, and we were sitting at the.
We were sitting at the counter.
We were sitting at the counter, and
listening.
Just listening, yeah. And a gentleman walks up and sits at the counter, and the waitress walks up, and she's obviously very familiar with him, and says, "Your ex-old lady was just in here." And he was like, "Yeah." She goes, "And she still got your tags on that truck." And I was so excited to tell Ron. I was like, "You will not believe what just happened."
Right,
and it was just it was
so real and so
just to witness that, and I was oh my gosh, it was so funny.
Yep, that's
All
great.
right.
I thought, and along those same lines, Greg Warren had a great joke recently. Maybe it was a tweet. I don't know if he said it on the air, but it was. Have you ever noticed that the day shift bartender is always pissed with how the night shift bartender left the bar? And it's true. And with my countless Saturdays at Applebee's, you got to sit there and listen to the.
Yep.
Dennis did it again.
Well, thank you, Ronnie,
Oh,
Donnie.
thank you guys.
Floyd.
I'm going to listen to more podcasts. I really don't. I'm so far behind the times with technology, but I've done several podcasts. I was with Bob Biggerstaff and then a group at Morty's Comedy Club and a few others, but this is fun. I need to actually figure this out and find out how to listen to these. So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We should start a network.
We'll set you up.
Yeah, have Jason and do the technical stuff, right?
It's all about pushing buttons.
That's right.
In the right order.
In the right order.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Chick.
Thanks, Jason.
Whatever.
Good night, everybody.
Jim Rome takes on sports.
Why? Because you're not playing me.
With rapid fire takes.
Y'all went from the Super Bowl straight to the toilet bowl. He's not over the NFL. The NFL is over him.
Scorching debates.
All the good, all the bad, all the ups, all the downs.
He's the Spitfire of sports smack.
Sorry for what I said because it was appropriate when I said it, but I can't say it anymore, dude. You are killing the game.
The Jim Rome Show podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.